Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Tom Spark. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm making a controversial one. Why I think the Switch 2 will have, or does already have, better ergonomics than the Steam Deck. So buckle in, nerds, and let's get into this discussion. Hey, if you guys are new to the channel, check out VPNTier.com. You might have seen VPNs ad on YouTube before, but you're like, how legit are these VPNs? Should I even be using them? I made the world's first VPN tier list rating every single VPN with objective data and sourced from help from my community. So if you're confused if you need a VPN or not, or if you can't decide which one to use, go ahead and check out VPNTierList.com. Also, feel free to like this video, comment down below why I'm wrong if you really want. Point number one. I think the Switch 2 has an advantage for ergonomics because it has detachable controllers and an improved stand. Now, one of my favorite things about the Switch 1 was that you could detach the controllers, have the Switch like on a stand or like a airplane tray in front of you. You could just kind of have those two controllers in your hand and control it that way. Very ergonomic because you don't actually have to have your hands in a set position like this. You can actually just kind of have them like this, or maybe kind of playing in your lap like this. Just having those two controllers in your hand is a very interesting thing. I actually saw that some people were using the Switch specifically to play games while exercising on a treadmill because you didn't have to have a set kind of posture. You could be like running like this instead of like running like this. And I think that's pretty cool. And we can take a look at that kind of improved kickstand. So apparently it's improved. It's larger, more stable, and offers more adjustable viewing angles. So as you can see the picture there. So I think that's a pretty cool improvement. I think that's going to make even more ergonomic and make that feature even more useful. So I definitely think having detachable controllers and improved kickstand is good for ergonomics. I think another major win is actually this cool mouse feature that Nintendo has built in. I've heard that it's extremely fluid. In games like Metroid, you can even very quickly just turn the controller, use mouse controls, and then turn it back and use gamepad controls. That honestly is pretty cool. Maybe one of the biggest innovations they've done with the Switch 2, bringing really good opportunity for really good ergonomics when concerning games like Civilization or other games like that. It's really not something we've seen with a console before. If you've ever tried to play strategy games or anything like that with a controller, it can be a very clunky experience. So that's definitely a huge advantage when it comes to ergonomic kind of control of these games that require more fine tuning, or even FPS games. Definitely a very cool thing. Now, I think another advantage for the Switch 2 is the modularity of attachments. Now, for example, the Steam Deck, you probably can get some attachments for it, but the main idea with the Steam Deck is it comes as it is to be ergonomic. The Switch 2 has kind of a flat back design, which in some ways is less ergonomic, but you can add things to make it actually more like the Steam Deck. So you can kind of pay maybe 20, 30, depends on whatever kind of add-on you want to do to make it ergonomic and more comparable. It gives you that option to do that, which I think is a good advantage. I think the downside to the Steam Deck is that it's built in, which does make the size larger, which does make it less portable and harder to fit inside your pocket. I think another huge advantage for the Switch 1 and even the Switch 2 is that it will have a dock. I do believe the dock for the Switch 2 also has some improvements. It has 4K output, built-in fan for enhanced cooling, and a dedicated internet port. That's nice. You no longer have to get some Ugreen attachment from Amazon, right? So that is very nice. You can buy one with a Steam Deck. It is a fee that you have to add on. It doesn't come with it, so that's a downside. But I do believe that the Switch's integration with the dock has always been one of its greatest strengths, and really cool to make it very easy to just go from handheld into there. A very nice thing. I actually think the Steam Deck kind of copied it with their kind of dock they kind of do sell. I kind of touched on this before, but another kind of ergonomic thing is ergonomic portability, I think, is a category. The Switch 2 will be smaller than the Steam Deck and just kind of a little bit more pocketable. I found a pretty good video actually on Reddit kind of discussing the kind of comparison from the thing. I'll put that on the screen right here. This guy's from Steam Dad. This is a pretty good video kind of showing the differences. As you could see, the Switch 2 is smaller, a little bit more pocketable, definitely going to fit better in your pants. You could even take the controllers if you want it off to make it even smaller. And the nice thing is too, it has that cool magnets that also kind of enhance the modularity and kind of convenience factor. You no longer have to slide them and stuff like that. But that kind of leads me to my next point, is that for ergonomics for kids, that's something you might not be thinking of, but I thought of it because when you have these small little controllers, it's actually they're probably one of the smallest controllers you can use for gaming, and that is good for kids. A lot of kids can't play games very well on these big bulky controllers, especially something like the Steam Deck that is pretty heavy. But with the Switch 2, these small little controllers I think are actually going to be very good for kids to play on, especially the Switch 1 as well. And I think that's one reason. I remember the early marketing from the Switch 1. It showed like little kids playing around a table, and that's true. The ergonomics for kids for these controllers are very good, since they are so small, the little Joy-Cons. And that's kind of what I was talking about right there. You could see the guy kind of playing with them separately. That's not something you can really do with the Steam Deck. So guys, those are some of my opinions on why this Switch 2 is going to be more ergonomic than the Steam Deck right now, for a variety of reasons like I discussed. It has a better stand, which means you can kind of even take advantage even more of that ability to put it on something in front of your lap. You don't have to hold it up the whole time for airplane, for specifically airplane kind of experiences. Or maybe if you're at the airport and there's some kind of stand attached to your chair, or any other situation where you're kind of waiting around, you can have that advantage of having the controllers in your hands, not having to hold your hands up, hold a heavy device. So that is definitely a very good ergonomic thing. I think the customization options for kind of making it more like a Steam Deck is also good. You have the pro of being able to do that, or if you don't want that, you could have more portability, as well as the other things I discussed. So let me know what you thought in the description down or comments down below, and I'll see you again very soon.